college football is just really frustrating because I like this Purdue team. I think this Purdue team is better than the one they had last year. I think they're going to be drastically improved than they were last year. But that may not show, especially in the win total, because the Boilermakers face one of the most difficult schedules in the entire country. So welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, guys. Ready to break down the Purdue Boilermakers, year 2 under Ryan Walters. As always, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com, home of our expert picks, some of the best spread picks in the entire country. The earlier you sign up for those, the better. Every day gets us one step closer to the start of the season, and you will want to be a part of that team. Also, check out our exclusive newsletters, also on our website, and everything else down in the description for you so you can become a member of our GE Nation. So Purdue, guys, look, last year was not that bad of a team. They went 4-8 in year 1 under Ryan Walters. Losing season, it's unfortunate, it's whatever. But they were better than that record showed. The Boilermakers had 3 one-possession losses, including their season opening game to Fresno State, then to Iowa, then to Northwestern. Win 2 of those, they're going bowling. And no one's talking about Purdue and they being the worst team in the Big Ten. The problem is, I don't think they're the worst team in the Big Ten. But I'm afraid that could end up being the case. It could be what the standings show by season's end because of what they have to go up against. Before we show you that schedule, let's take a look at what they have. Why do I like them so much? Well, 8 starters are back on the offensive side of the ball, led by a veteran quarterback in Hudson Card, who threw for over 2,300 yards and 15 touchdowns last year. They've got a veteran running back, Devin Mockabee, returning after rushing for over 800 yards and 6 touchdowns last year. They do lose their top 4 pass catchers from a season ago, but add some big-time transfers. Add Cam Brown in from UCLA, C.J. Smith in from Georgia. 4 starting offensive linemen are back, 165 career starts up front. This is a great Purdue offensive line. An offense I think is going to take a pretty big step forward. Defensively, 6 starters are back, including 4 of their top 6 tacklers, led by the absolute freak of nature, Dylan Thieneman. Had 106 tackles last year at safety. 106 tackles as a safety. Had 6 interceptions last year. All of that as a freshman. Unbelievable. He was an absolute freak of nature. Already the leader of this defense. Played out of his mind as a freshman, guys. Should be even better now in year 2. You got Nyland Green joining him in the secondary, transferring in from Georgia. Kydron Jenkins anchors that linebacking core after putting 7.5 sacks last year. And then they've got a 315-pound nose tackle and Cole Brevard up front on the defensive line. They allowed 30.4 points per game last year, but they should improve drastically. They've got the pieces, guys. And I think any normal year, Purdue would be flirting with a bowl game. But then you see what they're up against and you go, oh, maybe not. I mean, just look. They've got Notre Dame in the non-conference, a college football playoff contender, no doubt about it. On the road at Wisconsin. They play Oregon, Ohio State, and Penn State, 3 of the best teams in the entire conference. Yes, they get to host 2 of those, but that might not matter too much. On the road at an improving Indiana team. There's just so much that's going against Purdue here. And you go, we've got a better team. We're going to be better statistically, but what about the wins? And they may not come. They're going to beat Indiana State, I'll tell you that. And they beat Indiana State. They get that early bye week. They'll lose to Notre Dame, a team that's just loaded from top to bottom. They've got a veteran quarterback in Riley Leonard, one of the best defenses in the country. Even though they're getting to host this game, they're not going to beat the Fighting Irish. But I do think they beat Oregon State. I know I kind of got, criticized for that when we predicted the Beavers record a few weeks ago. But Oregon State, new head coach and Trent Bray, the team kind of fell apart because there's no Pac-12 anymore. So a lot of those players graduated or transferred or whatever you want to have it. Jonathan Smith bolted to go to Michigan State in the Big Ten. But Oregon State, guys, compared to the experience that Purdue has, it's just not there. The Boilermakers are the more consistent team. I think Purdue owns the edge in every aspect of this game with the exception of home field advantage, and I believe they can overcome that. So they're going to beat Oregon State. They're 2-1, and then you enter conference play, and it just gets really, really difficult. Now, they play Nebraska to open up. Nebraska, they lost to the Cornhuskers 31-14 last year and were held to just 195 yards of offense. This year, I think they can eclipse 200, but Nebraska's defense is really, really good, especially up front on the front 7. The offense should be drastically improved. Dylan Raiola coming in at quarterback. Gabe Ervin returning from an injury at running back. Nebraska, in year 2 under Matt Rule, should take a step forward and maybe finally get back to the postseason. Purdue will fall despite getting to host this game. Then they go on the road to Wisconsin. If you know history, it's definitely not on Purdue's side. The Boilermakers have dropped 17 straight to the Badgers, including that 38-17 loss last year. Now on the road in Madison, don't expect that to change now. Then they go on the road to Illinois, the Ryan Walters reunion game. Last year against the Fighting Illini, they actually torched Illinois. Purdue won that game big, 44-19. They had 6 sacks against that horrendous Illinois offensive line that allowed 40 on the entire year. But Illinois now is much better. They are healthier. They are coming off a week of rest. They've got home field advantage. It's going to be a much more competitive game, but one that I do believe Illinois wins. I do believe the Fighting Illini take care of business here. So that 2-1 start, now they've lost 3 in a row, and they're definitely going to lose to Oregon. Despite getting to host the Ducks, they are a national title contender. They are loaded from top to bottom, one of the best quarterbacks in the country, maybe the Heisman favorite for some, and Dylan Gabriel, and the Boilermakers simply are no match for the Ducks. So they lose all of those games. They are now, 2-5? They come out of their bye week, and they get to 3-5, and they beat Northwestern. They lost to the Wildcats 23-15 last year, but the Wildcats were a very fortunate team. A lot of things went right for them. And it's going to be very hard to replicate that success. Lightning doesn't always strike twice. I think Northwestern's going to find that out the hard way. So Purdue, at home, off that week of rest, does beat Northwestern, gets themselves a conference win. They've got 3 wins now, but then look at the rest of the schedule. That month of November after Northwestern. At Ohio State and Penn State, they will lose both of those games. They lost to the Buckeyes 41-7 last year. Penn State, yes, is at home, but they are loaded from top to bottom with talent. Purdue nowhere near to the point of contending with the top dogs in the conference. So they lose those 2. And then they close out the year on the road at Michigan State and on the road at Indiana. Back-to-back road games to close out the season. Michigan State, certainly a winnable game. No doubt about that in my eyes. Certainly a winnable game. This is a team that's in a major rebuild. First year under Jonathan Smith coming over from Oregon State. But Michigan State's going to have a surprising defense. 10 starters back on that side of the ball. I think they'll be a little bit more competitive on that side than people realize. And their running game may not be as bad as you think either. I think their running game's going to be pretty solid. The quarterback's the big issue for the Spartans right now, but their running backs with Nate Carter could surprise. I really think the Michigan State, at this point in the year, has started to click a little bit. They started to pick up some steam at the end of the season. At home, they beat Purdue, and then the Boilermakers go on the road to Indiana, the battle for the old Oaken Bucket. They've won 3 straight in this series over their rival, but this is no ordinary Indiana team. This is not the same Indiana team we saw last year, and last year's game was great, 35-31 in favor of Purdue. But this Indiana team has a new coach in Kurt Cignetti. He's bringing over tons of talent from that very good James Madison squad. They've got a veteran quarterback in Curtis Roark. They've got some great wide receivers in Donovan McCulley, Elijah Surratt. Very good and underrated defense. Indiana will surprise a lot of people this year. Now at home in this rivalry game, anxious to end their 3-game losing streak to Purdue. It's close, but Indiana snaps that streak, and the Boilermakers finish 3-9. And I hate that. That's why college football is so frustrating. This team on paper is better than last year. They are more talented. They're going to put up better stats. Everything about Purdue to me shows a team trending up. But then you look at the schedule and you go, yeah, they're trending up, but they're not to the point of hanging with the big dogs yet. Yeah, they're trending up, but they were gifted one of the worst, and by worst we mean toughest schedules in the nation. They're going to play, again, Notre Dame, Oregon, Ohio State, Penn State. All those teams could be ranked in the top 10 when Purdue has to face them. We know Wisconsin is a very tough game to play, one that's not on Purdue's side. Indiana's drastically improved. If you look at it, there's 3 potential toss-up games. Nebraska, Illinois, and Michigan State are the 3 games that you can maybe argue could be wins instead of losses. But everything else, I feel pretty confident in there. And while you could argue those 3 games could be toss-ups and could be changed, we know that not all 3 will be. So we have them at 3-9. Maybe you think 4-8. Maybe you even think 5-7, which shows improvement. But Purdue falls short of the postseason. Next year, though, year 3 under Ryan Walters, which is when coaches typically hit their stride, that is when I could see Purdue possibly breaking through and getting back to the postseason. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com, home of those exclusive expert picks and those exclusive weekly newsletters. We want you to check those out. Become a member of our GE Nation. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.